Asmat Gurubhyo Namaha, Asmat Parama Gurubhyo Namaha, Asmat Sarva Gurubhyo Namaha. So, welcome, Hare Krishna, Namaskaram. Today's topic is going to be about samskaras, and we're going to discuss a little bit about what the meaning of the word samskara is and what kind of samskaras there are. We'll give a definition to it. And so, also we can take questions and we can give some comments about different types of samskaras. So, samskara, of course, the word samskara is a Sanskrit word, and Sanskrit is an ancient language of the Vedas, right? And the Vedas, the Indo-European culture in South Asia, is based in Sanskrit literature or Sanskrit texts or Sanskrit scriptures. So what does the word samskara mean? Some of us might have heard other words using the prefix sam. Sam means to bring together. And kara means to do something. So it's just to bring things together and do something. So if I look in the dictionary I use, of course, is the Monier-Williams Sanskrit English Dictionary, which is the one that is used by the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust and also by Srila Prabhupada. For those of you who know ISKCON. So the word samskara in Sanskrit means putting together, forming well, making perfect, accomplishment. It can mean purification, cleansing, making ready, preparation, refining. So in the sense that we use it for ceremonies or different actions that we do, the word samskara means purification. It means purification. So how do we purify ourselves? So now there are two parts to samskaras. The first part is we should understand what is the theory behind samskaras. The theory behind samskaras is how we purify ourselves. So it depends upon our understanding of philosophy and how the doctrines of philosophy are applied in our everyday life as to what we think is a purificatory ceremony. A purificatory ceremony might simply be the moving from one part of the life to another part of the life. For example, a paradigmatic samskara would be marriage. So there is marriage in every society. In every society around the world, there's marriage. Even if it's just people getting together and agreeing to be a family unit without any real ceremony, still that's a form of marriage. In the Vedic system, there are 8 forms of marriage. So there's different types of marriage. So there are different refinements in the different forms of marriage. So marriage is a samskara. So the idea of marriage is to purify the human being. There are 2 human beings, and they want 2 or more in the Vedic civilization. There could even be more than 2 in a marriage. And the idea is to impress upon the society that these individuals have formed a group, because we are all born into this world individuals, right? We're not born with a husband or a wife. So when we're born, we grow up and we gain maturity, and then at a certain point we want to marry, and so we find a husband or a wife. In the Vedic civilization, people might have more wives, they might have more husbands than one. That's also there. So usually in modern society, we don't have what is called polygamy. We don't have multiple polygamy or polyandry. Polygamy means one man and many wives. Polyandry means one wife and many husbands, but both those things were practiced in ancient times in different societies. Even if you look in the Bible, that was practiced. Okay, so there are some different forms of marriage, even in the scriptures. Okay, so, but we're not born that way. We have to reach a certain decision, and then we perform a ceremony to show that we show society that we are interacting in this way as a family group. As a family group, that the society should understand that we're a family group, like that. Similarly, we have other samskaras where we go from one age to the next age. When a boy or a girl attains maturity, then they have a certain samskara when they hit puberty, and they become the girl becomes a woman, a boy becomes a man. So in different societies around the world, they have different samskaras. They have different ceremonies for this. Even in foreign countries, we have different ceremonies. Like we have even educational ceremonies where we have a graduation ceremony. We have a ceremony when people learn to drive the car. You know, in America, at 16 years of age, all the children, they go and they get their driver's learning permit. And then when they pass the test and they get the license, then they have a party, and this is a samskar. They're going from being a child to becoming an adult, and so the society sees them in a different way. So not only they make an impression upon their own mind that now I'm an adult, I have to act in a certain way. I can no longer act as a child. Now I have to act as an adult. But similarly, the society also looks at them, and the society also thinks this person is a child. He's not allowed to drive. You know, if a child takes a car and is pulled over by the police, if he's under a certain age, it's obvious he doesn't have a license, because that's the law. So the police say, no, this is not correct. You shouldn't, because you're irresponsible. But when a person gets of a certain age and passes the test and shows that by that samskara that they are willing to take on that responsibility of driving, and society expects them to be responsible. Similarly, society expects the husband to be responsible for the wife to be responsible for the husband, and the parents to be responsible for the children, right? So everybody in society has certain responsibilities. So we have this life, and we have certain responsibilities in our life. What is the greatest responsibility that we have in life? The greatest responsibility that we have in life is to find out and to adopt what is the perfection of life. So what is the perfection of life? According to some people, the perfection of life might simply be to eat, drink, be merry, you know, for tomorrow at some time we may die. In India, there was a philosopher called Charvaka, and he said, just get as much ghee as you can, cook food with ghee in it, eat it, and enjoy life, because tomorrow you die and your body will be burned and it'll all be over. This was his philosophy. But we don't think like that, because we understand that the soul is eternal, that we have an eternal soul, right? Which in Sanskrit is called an Atman, right? And that Atman is traveling throughout our life, in our childhood body, in our youth body, in our old age body. And similarly, at the time of death, that Atman is going to go to another body according to the actions and reactions that we have in this life. That is called karma in Sanskrit. So we understand, and even other people who are not Vaishnavas, who are not Hindus, they also understand that if you do an action, there's a reaction. You do an action, there's a reaction. So if I kill, I will be placed in jail, right? If I'm a murderer. If I steal, I will be caught and I will be sentenced to some punishment. So similarly, the law of the land works like this, and the law of God also works like this. So what we have to, there are certain things that we can do which are good for our material life. These are samskaras, purification for our material life. And there are also certain things which can be done which are good for our spiritual life. These are also called samskaras. So the first thing we have to define is the difference between samskaras which are only good for our material life and samskaras which are good for our spiritual life. These will be the two different types. So there are in India, they have an idea of a perfect society, and of course society is never perfect, right? So we shouldn't think that society was ever perfect, because this is a material world, and in the material world things will never go perfectly. Okay, there's always problems. But if we had to have a utopian society, Indians have written, ancient seers and sages have written shastras to explain what a perfect society would look like. And the perfect society is based on the Vedas. In the Vedas, there is a prayer called Purusha Shukta. In Purusha Shukta, there's a verse, Brahmanosyamakamasid bahu rajanyakutaha uru tarasya yadvaishaha padyam sudro ajayata. It means that society is conceived of as being like a person. We even say sometimes we say the body politic, or we say the body of society, or whatever it is. So it's conceived of like a person. A person is like a society. How is a person like a society? This is the analogy. So the head of a society, the head part of a society, are the intellectuals. People who teach, people who study, people who figure out the intellectual parts. The arms of the body, they protect the body, right? These are the politicians, these are the military people, right? And then you have what makes the body to go is the energy which is coming from the stomach. When we eat food, it's digested, and the energy coming from the stomach pervades the body and creates energy for us to move. So the stomach is like the business community, or like the farming community. The people who create the wealth, the people that create the foods that everybody in the society eats and uses to go on. Everything in the body goes everywhere on the feet by walking. So the workers in a society are equated to the feet of the body, of the society body. So in this way, we have the head, the arms, the stomach, and the feet. So the Vedic society, the idea in the Vedic society is that in every society, there are these four different types of persons. There are intellectuals, there are administrators and politicians, there are business people, the business class of people, and then there are the people that work for all those people, the Sudras, as they're called in Sanskrit, or the workers. So sometimes we get this idea that there's only two types of people. There's leaders and followers. There's people who are independent, and people who are dependent on those people. There's bosses and workers, right? Sometimes we get that. But the bosses, the people who are in charge, they also have a differentiation. There's the intellectuals, the administrators, there's the business class, okay, like that. So this has been all formulated in the Indian situation. We call them Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra. We have caste names for them. And in India, in the medieval times, this became by birth. So it actually shouldn't be by birth, because we read in the scriptures, Lord Krishna in the scriptures in Bhagavad Gita says, Chatur Varnam, these four types of people in every society, they're called Varnas, okay, which means a different class of person. And so these four classes in every society, right? They can be distinguished. Again. So in the system in India of where they have the different, Lord Krishna says that these classes are by quality. So everybody knows what their qualities are, and everybody knows what they're suited for. Some people want to become teachers, they want to become intellectuals, they want to become scientists or whatever it is. Okay, they're more interested in a job which is philosophical or mental, like that. There are other people who want to go into politics. They want to go into they want to go into the military. They want to administer. They want to help administer the country. There are other people who want to do business. A lot of people want to do business. We want to make some money, so let's do some business. Different types of business, and they own the business. And then there are other people who work for the people who own the business, who work for the people who administer the country, who work for the people who are the scientists or the intellectuals. Right? So you have that. You have the intellectuals, the administrators, the business people, and the workers. Okay, so you have this in every society. So these samskaras in India are for these, we're talking only here about material samskaras, which are the less important of the two types of samskaras, right? We'll talk about the more important samskaras coming up. The less important samskaras have to do with our material social status in society. So those samskaras involve getting married, having children, raising the children in certain ways, in certain aspects of the child's life. When the child reaches maturity, you're sending the child to school. They're educational. There are samskaras, purificatory ceremonies before the child is born, after the child is born, when he goes to school, when she goes to school, different stages of the life. And then after marriage, and then even at death, there's a samskara, there's a ceremony, the funeral, different types of funeral. And after death, even the family, may pay respects every year or at certain times to their ancestors, like that. So there are these different ceremonies. These are the material samskaras. The spiritual samskaras have to do only with the eternal soul. The spiritual samskara is approaching a spiritual teacher. Krishna also says this in the Bhagavad Gita. He says, Tadvidi Pradipatrena. So to be clear about the types of the caste system or the class system of the different types of people and 4 different types of people in society, Krishna says those different types of people are according to their nature, according to their qualification, their nature. We all know that, some people want to be farmers and they're qualified to be farmers. Some people want to be businessmen. Some people want to be military people and politicians. And some people want to be intellectuals. And some people they're not qualified to be intellectuals, but they're very qualified to be administrators. Or they're not qualified to be businessmen, but they're very qualified to do some other thing. So according to our qualities, not just according to our birth, because somebody can be born in a family and their father is a high court judge, but they don't become a judge, they don't become a lawyer. They become something else. So according to our qualities, we get educated in a certain way and we find a certain position in society. And that position is then codified as one of the 4, the head, the arms, the stomach, or the feet. There's no distinction spiritually between these different things. You can't say, oh, the feet are not as spiritual as the head. No, everybody is the same. In the Gita, also Lord Krishna says, Pandita Samadarshinaha, that a really spiritual person sees everybody on the same level. So everybody has a right. Everybody has the same rights in society, but people are in different positions. So there's a king, and then there's a person who serves the king. So both are human beings, both are intrinsically equal spiritually because they're both the soul within the body. So that is the material system of Varnashram, and there are different samskaras for that. In the spiritual system, we understand everybody is a spirit soul, and the soul, in order to find out what is the important thing in life, what is the goal of life, right? The soul should approach somebody who knows what that is, and should try to read scriptures and try to study and understand what those things are. That is also a samskara. That is an educational samskara. And Lord Krishna speaks about this also in Bhagavad Gita. He says, Tadvidi paripatrena pariprashnena sevaya uparekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshinaha. A tattvadarshi, a person who has seen the tattva or truth, right, has to be approached, and we have to pariprashna, we have to ask. Prashna means question. We have to question that person, just like we go to school and we go to a lecture in college or in university, and we ask a question either in the middle of the class or at the end of the class, just like now. You just ask, if you have a question, you just ask the question, and then the person who's giving the class will give an answer. And, you know, whether you accept the answer or don't accept the answer, that's also up to you. But the point is, you don't get an answer unless you ask a question. So it's not useful to have a question in your mind and just sit there and think, I'd really like to ask this question. I really want to know the answer, but I won't ask it. So the best thing, every question has to be asked. No matter how silly you might think the question is, you have to ask it, and you get, hopefully if you have a good teacher, the teacher will not ridicule you for asking a silly question. He will understand he really wants to know the answer to this question, and he'll give the answer in a nice way. So when so just like when learning material things, when we learn spiritual things, we have to approach somebody. That person is called a teacher. In Sanskrit, the word teacher is called guru. You probably heard this word guru. The word guru comes from two letters, gu and ru. So gu means darkness in Sanskrit, darkness, and ru means light. So a person who can take you from being in the dark to being in the light is a guru, is a teacher. So anybody who teaches you anything, if he teaches you music, he teaches you spiritual things, he teaches you some other thing, he's a guru, he's a teacher. The word guru just means teacher, okay? So approaching a guru is called upanayanam. Upanayanam in Sanskrit. This is also a samskara. There was a Vedic ancient samskara called upanayanam, where the boys and even the girls, they would approach a guru and they would learn spiritual things. Upa means close, and nayana means to come, right? So to come close, just like we are a long way away from each other. Some people here are in Africa, some are in America, some are in different parts of the world. Through technology, through Zoom, we're coming close to each other. So only when we come close to each other can we have a class and we can discuss different things and we can learn something. So the idea is to approach a guru, to approach a teacher, and that is called upanayana. So there is a samskara called upanayana where the person goes and approaches the teacher, and he learns certain things from the teacher and embarks on a course of study, right? Before we embark on a course of study, we should sort of have a little bit of an idea of what the course is like. Whenever we go to a school and we enroll for a particular course, we have to understand what the course is about. If I want to learn to be a CPA, you know, a chartered professional accountant, then I don't go to a class, I don't sign up for a class in humanities, in some other, or in French literature or something. I sign up for an economics class because that's going to help me become a CPA. So similarly, when we want to understand spiritual things, we approach a person who is knowledgeable in the spiritual scriptures and is knowledgeable about the doctrines of spiritual things, and that is called upanayana. So upanayana is a type of samskara. There's another type of samskara. Also upanayana involves the guru giving knowledge to people, and knowledge can be in different ways. Knowledge can be either just teaching the scriptures, teaching the knowledge of the scriptures, or it can also be giving instruction, or it can also be giving specific prayers or mantras. The word mantra in Sanskrit means manaha trayate iti mantraha. So manaha means the mind, and trayate means to liberate or to free the mind. to free the mind, to free our consciousness, right? So the mantra is meant to help us to free the consciousness or to fix our mind on the Supreme, like that. So sometimes people will go to a guru or to a teacher and they'll request the teacher to teach them a particular mantra, teach them all about that mantra, and to explain the meaning of the mantra and how to use the mantra to help to purify themselves. So this is some of the spiritual aspects of spiritual samskaras. So there are material samskaras and there's spiritual samskaras. Now, there was a great teacher called Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and he wrote a book called Sri Chaitanya Shikshamrita. In that book, he speaks about every country in the world has samskaras. Every country in the world has these different ceremonies, and they have different traditions, right, to mark different aspects of purification, different aspects of our lives. So, but the Vedic samskaras and the Vaisnava samskaras of India are considered to be the most refined ones. So we're not against having birthday parties. We're not against having graduation parties. We're not against having all these other samskaras of other countries, right? But we specifically highlight the particular samskaras that come in the Vedic scriptures as being more efficacious, as being more helpful for the individual to focus the mind of the individual and the mind of society on the purpose of the samskara, whether it be a material purpose or whether it be a completely spiritual purpose. These have been refined over thousands and thousands of years. So that is the meaning of samskara. Samskara is a purificatory ceremony. There are approximately 16 samskaras that are there in the social samskaras that are there in the society system of India, Varnashrama. There are a couple of samskaras that we can talk about, which are spiritual, purely spiritual samskaras, like Upanayanam, Vaisnava Diksha, like this. Then there are also, so there are these different types of samskaras. Now, there are also what we call Vedic samskaras, which are ancient samskaras, which are done by people using only the ancient mantras of the Vedas, right? They are called Shrauta samskaras, and they have to do a lot with fire ceremonies and very ancient mantras and things like that. They bring the 16 number up to 40. So there are actually 40 samskaras. Today, people will speak about 16 samskaras in India, and even the people in India today, probably they only perform 1 or 2 or 3 of those in their lives. So over the course of time, these samskaras have fallen out of use. The samskaras which have become more important are the spiritual ones rather than the material ones. Why is that? It's because we don't have a society like ancient Indian society anymore. So our society is a little different because everybody gets equal education up to a certain point, and then they might specialize in different subjects. But up to a certain point, up to the end of high school, basically, everybody's getting a secular education and the same things. Whereas in the ancient Vedic civilization, certain people would be going to specialize in specific subjects. So samskara means a purificatory ceremony. Let's just summarize here. It means a purificatory ceremony. It can be done. There are those such ceremonies all over the world in every sort of society. The ones that are in the Vedic society are classified, and there are 40 of them in the Varnashram system, out of which 16 are most understood today, and maybe 1 or 2 or 3 of them are practiced by most Hindus or Vaishnavas today. Whereas there's also spiritual samskaras, meaning taking initiation, mantra diksha, Vaishnava diksha, or some other types of completely spiritual samskaras, which only have to do with the soul and do not have to do with the material body. So this is the whole gamut of samskara. Now, if anybody wants to go specifically into a list of the different samskaras, whether they be the 40 samskaras, the 16 samskaras, the 2 or 3 samskaras that most people do today, or the spiritual samskaras, we can discuss that also. But that's a general overview of what the word samskaras it means. And why should we do that? Why should we do any of these samskaras? We should only do them if we understand what they mean. We should never do a ritual. We should never do a ceremony that we don't understand what it means. We should understand, first of all, the doctrine behind the ritual. What is it trying to impress upon our mind? How is it trying to help us? How does it change us? How does it change our relationship to society or our relationship to the Supreme, whether it be a social or spiritual samskara? So we should understand that first, the theory of samskara, of each samskara, before we do it. Of any ritual, we should understand the theory, and then we should perform it. Then we should do any external part of the samskara is less important than the internal, than the mentality behind it. Okay, so are there any questions so far on that?
Hare Krishna, Guruji.
Yeah, Devarishi. You got a little bit of feedback there. Go ahead. What's your question?
Okay. I want to ask if a Yajuman doesn't understand all these samskaras and approach you, you explain all these details to the Yajuman. It's okay for the Yajuman to continue to do the samskara, or you have to really understand all the paraphernalia, all the things that you are going to use first before you do the ceremony.
Okay, that's a good question. I'm going to mute you and yeah, thank you. Okay, so what is David Rishi's question is, if a yajamana, now first of all, what is a yajamana? A yajamana means a person who's sponsoring a particular ceremony. So it can be a spiritual ceremony or material, whatever it is, right? I give you an example in Christianity. There are some Christian groups where they take the baby and they do christening. They take the baby and they take him to the church and they put some water on his forehead in the sign of a cross and they say, now you are surrendered to Jesus. And the baby doesn't know anything about Jesus. The baby is just a baby. But still they do this samskara. This is a Christian samskara called christening. There are other sects of Christianity where they say only you cannot do this when he's a baby because the baby doesn't understand. The baby should have, first of all, grow up and you should teach him about Jesus and the teachings of Jesus, and only after understanding the teachings of Jesus he can surrender to Jesus. Right? I have seen, for example, some little boys, they were taking Diksha, they were taking a Vaisnava initiation. And the guru is asking them, no intoxication, no illicit sex, no gambling. They are little boys. They don't know anything about gambling. They don't know anything about illicit sex. They didn't even reach puberty yet. They don't know anything about intoxication. They don't understand it actually, right? Because they're not adults yet. So still they're promising, oh, we won't do this. So some people say, there are some people who say, okay, they can still do this even they don't know. Even they don't know what they're saying, what they're promising. Even the baby doesn't know who is Jesus. Still the parents make the baby go through this ceremony. So in my opinion, it is better if you know what you are doing when you do a ritual. Is a ritual still got some meaning, got some potency to affect you, even if you don't know anything about it? Yes, the ritual does have some potency, but it's much, much, much better if the person knows what the ritual is. Now, does the person have to know everything about the ritual? Does he have to know why you ring the bell and why you offer the incense? Why you do a particular hand movement in the ritual? No, he doesn't have to know that. Just like when, again, I'll give an example from Christianity. People in the Catholic Church, they go and they go to Mass on Sunday, and they eat some small piece of biscuit, and they drink some wine or something like this, and they think that this is the body and the blood of Jesus. In Vaishnavism, we take prasadam, and the prasadam, we offer food to God, and then we give it to people, and the people eat that food, and spiritualized food, they become also purified by the spiritualized food, right? Right? Do we explain to everybody we give the food to exactly how we cooked it, exactly how we offered it, exactly which mula mantra we use to worship the deity and offer this food to? No, we don't explain all that to them. We just tell them this is spiritual food. If you eat it, you will be purified. That's all. So a yajamana, or a sponsor of a ceremony, you can explain very simply to them. If you're a priest and you know the details of everything, if that person is inquisitive and they want to know the details, you also should know the details. If you're a priest and you're performing a ceremony, you should understand deeply the details. You're a professional. You're a trained professional. So if the person asks you, why do you do this, if they're interested to know the details, you should be able to tell them. Just like if you have a car, you don't have to learn everything about the engine of a car, everything about internal combustion, everything about this to drive a car. All you need to know is how to hold the steering wheel, how to watch for other people. A few things you have to know, but you don't have to know everything. But if you meet a person who is instructing you how to drive the car and how to keep the car and how to fix the car, that person has to know everything about it. Even if you don't want to know all the details, that person has to know. The teacher has to know. So as a priest, as a professional, or as a teacher, you have to know in detail everything about the samskara and the reason for doing it, the doctrine behind it, everything you should know. If the yajamana asks you all the details, you should be able to explain to him in a very simple way. You can explain to him in a complicated way if he wants to know the details. If he doesn't want to know all the details, you should be able to just summarize it and say, here, you have to eat this because this is spiritual food, and this is going to help purify you. We are going to make holy water. If you say to somebody, we're going to do Punyahavachanam, we're going to call the 7 holy rivers, and we're going to do this and that, we're going to then call Varuna, and we're going to chant this Vedic mantra for Varuna, then we're going to offer Sodasupachara, 16 services to Varuna. After that, we're going to valedict Varuna and send him away. After that, we're going to sprinkle you with certain mantras from the Vedas. He doesn't want to know this. He wants to know why you're sprinkling with water for him. Why are you sprinkling water on him? You're sprinkling water on him. That is helping to purify him so that he can take part in the ceremony. So that is only an external purification. You should explain to him that external purification is not the most important. Internal purification is more important, right? So sometimes you may not be able to do the external purification, right? Especially now we have this medical situation with the disease around the world. Some things we cannot do. Some things we cannot do with people. We can't be close to them. We have to be careful in some ways. So we may have to adapt our ceremony. We have to adapt our ceremonies in this way. But still, the basic principle, the philosophical principle of the ceremony has to be preserved. Like that. So we have to explain to people, okay, we used to do like this, and normally, traditionally we do like this, but because of this situation, we cannot do like this right now. We have to do it in another way. But still, we're keeping the principle, the doctrine of the philosophy behind the ceremony is still being maintained correctly. So you still get the benefit, even though we cannot do it exactly in the same way that we used to do it before there was this medical problem. So the question, to get back to Devarishi's question, very simply, if a sponsor of a ritual or a person who is going to take part in a ritual that you're going to perform, right? If he is interested or she is interested in understanding deeply all the principles and all the details, you should be able to explain it to them. However, if they don't want to go that deeply into it, you have to be able to tell them only in a very basic way what it's about. Somebody comes to you and says, "Oh, I have a problem in my business. I'm feeling a lot of mental anguish. Can we do some puja?" Yeah, you can do some puja. You can worship. You can worship the Supreme Lord. Maybe he'll take away all your money. No, the person will say, "No, I don't want that. Don't want my money taken away. I want to make more money." So if he's only interested in a certain outcome, you have to tell him what he can do to try to get that outcome. So then you say, "Oh, the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, is there. Kuvera, the god of wealth, is there." You can offer some prayers like this if you have some material benefit in mind. If you're only interested in spiritual benefit, I'll speak to you in one way. If you're interested in material benefit, I speak to you in another way. So if you're only interested in the basics, I will explain only very basically. If you're interested in the details, you should be able to explain everything to everybody according to because everybody's an individual and everybody needs an individual explanation. So just like this class, I'm trying to give a very broad overview of samskara. But if somebody wants to know a specific samskara or according to a specific way of doing it and a specific part of that, then we have to go into detail like that. But mostly right now what we're doing is we're just trying to talk in general. So I think you understand. It depends upon the person, upon how much they want to know. What is their purpose? Is their purpose spiritual? Is their purpose material? What exactly they want to achieve from the samskara, from the puja, from the ritual, like that. That you have to be expert and you have to know and you have to be able to tell them according to that, like that. It's not that you're lying to different people. If somebody says to me, "How do you drive a car?" and I say, all you do is you get inside, you put your hands on this wheel, and you have one foot that makes it go, and if you put the foot on the other thing, it makes it stop. That's it. Obviously, there's a lot more to driving than just accelerating and stopping, braking, and driving with the wheel. There's many other things to that. So the details are, okay, if somebody wants to know more details, they say, "Oh, you have to check in your mirrors, you have to signal if you want to change lanes, if you want to turn a corner, if you want to put it in reverse, you have to change the gear." So there's a lot more details. Then if somebody wants even more details, I'll say, "Oh, if it overheats, you have to stop, you have to put water in the radiator, you can't do it when it's hot, you have to check the oil, you have to get it, the engine has to be in a certain way. You have to get it, you have to put air in the tires up to a certain amount." So there's so many details you can go into, but mostly, and that's why some people, they don't even drive the car. What do? They call a taxi or an Uber, right? A person who calls a taxi or an Uber, does he have to know how to drive a car? No, he doesn't have to know, because the driver is there, he's going to do it. So you as a priest, you're going to do the ritual for the person. You're going to guide that person through the ritual, right? You're going to guide them through. Just like an Uber driver or a taxi driver is going to take you to your destination. The guru can see you're blind, so he takes your hand and he leads you. But better guru puts knowledge on your eyes as a sort of ointment and cures you, and you can see yourself. So it may be somebody is blind, we have to hold them by the hand and we have to lead them. Another person, we want to cure their blindness so they can see themselves. So what is better? Is it better to feed a person who is hungry, or is it better to teach that person how to make their own food, get their own food? So, but we have to each situation is different. So sometimes we have a person, he's like ordering a taxi. He doesn't need to know how to drive. We do the driving, and he can sit back and relax, and we do everything. So that's also possible. So it just depends upon the yajamana. Depends upon the yajamana. Some yajamanas, they want to be more involved in the ritual. They want to know more details about the ritual. And some people, they don't want to know. They say, what do I have to do? What do I have to pay? Do I actually have to be there? Is that important? So some people say, no, I'm too busy. You do it. You do it. You send me the video later. You send me the prasadam later. You know, call me up and let me know when it's done. And I'll write deduction a check for you. That's all. Some people are like that. Okay, so it just depends. My suggestion with yajamanas is the more you put into it, the more you will get out of it. Like anything in life, the more effort that when we go to school, the more effort we put into learning in school, the better our mark is at the exam and the better our job is after graduation, right? So if you want a good result, the best result, you should try to encourage your yajamanas to fully engage in understanding the meaning and in performing the ritual. But it's up to people. You know, people say, you know, I cannot do it. I can only do it on the weekend. You're telling me I should do it on this other day. And, you know, I have no time. Can we do it in 5 minutes instead of 3 hours? Can it be done for, you know, I have no money, so maybe you can do it for only half the amount or this amount. So we have to tailor everything for people, right? Whatever, some of the spiritual things that we do, you can put very little effort and you can get a big result. But the material things, whatever you put into it, that's the result you'll get out of it. In spiritual terms, you can chant one name of the Lord, Rama, and it's equal to everything. Thousands of other names. It's equal to thousands of other mantras, thousands of other prayers. If we just chant Hare Krishna or Sri Ram Jai Ram, it's enough, right? Very little effort, but we get big result out of it. But usually with material samskaras and other things, whatever effort we put into it, that's the sort of reaction we're going to get out of it. Yeah, so you have to look and you have to see the sponsor, whether he's interested, what he's interested in doing. You try to enthuse the sponsor to take more part in the ritual and to understand the actual significance of the ritual. If they don't want to, that's fine. No problem. So any other discussion about that? Anybody wants to go into any particular samskara, or should we leave that for another class, or what should we do? This was just a general introduction to samskaras. So if anybody's got any specific questions, or they want to bring up anything about either spiritual samskaras or social samskaras, or samskaras in general, or different samskaras around the world in different countries. Okay, so
Guruji, maybe you can brief something small on the 16 samskaras.
16 samskaras. Okay.
Yes.
16 samskaras. Okay, first of all, let's say, okay, so I'm going to tell you the Sanskrit words for the different samskaras, 16 samskaras, and I'll explain a little bit about each. So, we have different. We have different manuals. These are social samskaras. Okay. So, Baal, I'm going to mute you. I'm going to mute everybody. Yeah, because I'm getting some feedback. If you want to ask a question or if you want to make a comment, you can unmute. Otherwise, I'm getting feedback from some of those things. Okay. So, there are 16 samskaras normally spoken of about in India, which have to do, these are social samskaras. Okay, these are not spiritual samskaras. So any of these pujas and things or spiritual initiations, these are spiritual samskaras. So what we're talking about now is we're just talking about the samskaras of society, which tend to delineate the different stages in the life of a person. Okay, so because these samskaras, because these ceremonies, rituals of purification are Vedic, they're only performed for people who are twice born. Twice born means that the people I described in society who belong to the intellectual class, the administrative class, or the business class. The people who are the regular workers, they don't perform any samskaras at all. So it is also stated in the Vedic scriptures that in this age that we're living into right now, everybody is born in this status, and you have to acquire the status of a twice born person, and that is by the spiritual samskara of Upanayanam, where you approach a guru or a teacher, spiritual teacher, and he gives you spiritual knowledge, and specifically a mantra, which is called the Gayatri mantra, which is given to people to give them twice born status, by which they attain spiritual knowledge and the studying of the Vedic scriptures. So for those people who have had the Upanayanam, for them and their families, there are these samskaras. For other people, there are no samskaras at all in the traditional system. There are no samskaras at all. And therefore, those people are not considered purified in a social system. In a spiritual system, there are other spiritual samskaras like Vaisnava initiation and that they can take to. But in the social system, they have no social samskaras. So what we're talking about here is the social samskaras, which are for the upper three classes, for these three classes. So in the Vedic system, there are different books that describe these samskaras according to different Vedas. The Vedas are 4 in number. Originally, what does the word Veda mean? The Veda means knowledge. So originally, the Vedas are considered eternal knowledge in Sanskrit. They are hymns to God, and they're philosophical understandings that have come to us in 4 types of books: Samhitas, Aranyakas, Brahmanas, and Upanishads. The Samhitas are books of hymns. The Brahmanas are books that tell the priests how to use the hymns in sacrifices, some of the sacrifices which are part of the 40 samskaras. The Aranyakas are for those people who have left family life and who have retired because these other Brahmanas and Samhita books are for people who are in family life, because they're the ones who have to perform most of these samskaras, these social samskaras. The Aranyakas are for people in family life, and the Upanishads give an overall philosophical understanding of all these things. So in order to fully understand this, you have to study the Upanishads. But I will just run through the different samskaras. So there are four. The Vedas originally are divided up into 4. They're called the Rig Veda, the Yajur Veda, the Sama Veda, and the Atharva Veda. According to each Veda, there will be families who follow each particular Veda. Families of the upper three classes. So they will do their ceremonies according to that particular Veda. So there will be a certain Veda, Samhita, a certain Brahmana, a certain set of books which explains the rituals that they should perform and how they should perform them, and which mantras, which prayers they should use to perform them and how they should be performed. Those are usually books called Griha Sutras. Griha means householder, a person who is married and has a family, because he has to do most of the ceremonies. So that person has to know the Griha Sutras of his particular Veda, and he has to follow that particular Veda. This is not applicable today very much unless you're in India and you have a person who is following a particular Veda. Even many Indians who have gone outside of India and they live in other parts of the world do not remember exactly which Veda they should be performing their family rituals with. So the rituals are sometimes a little bit different for each family that follows different Vedas. So for instance, in the followers of the Rig Veda follow a Griha Sutra called the Ashvalayana Griha Sutra. And for them, they have different samskaras like Vivaha, Garbhadana, Pumsavana, Simontanayana, Jatakarma, Namakarna, Chudakarna, Anaprasana, Upanayana, Samavartana, Antyeshti. 11. They have 11. And their 11 is marriage, conceiving a child, praying for a male or female child, parting the wife's hair. These are all prenatal samskaras. The birth ceremony, the naming of the child ceremony, the cutting of the first haircut ceremony, the offering of solid food ceremony, the Upanayanam or giving of the Gayatri Mantra ceremony, the leaving of school, the graduation ceremony, and the funeral. That's for Ashvalayana Griha Sutra. There's another Griha Sutra called Varaha Griha Sutra. According to them, there's 13, which includes Jatakarma, the birth ceremony, the giving of the name, when the first teeth come through, right? When giving of solid food, first haircut, giving of the Gayatri Mantra, starting of education into the Vedas, setting a cow free or donating a cow, graduation, the marriage, then the conceiving of a child or impregnation, the prayer for either a male or female child, right? And then the parting of the hair of the wife. That's according to the Varaha Griha Sutra. According to the Paraskara Griha Sutra, which is a Yajurveda Sutra, whereas the Ashvalayana is the Rig Veda Sutra. According to the Paraskara Griha Sutra, we have Vivaha, Garbhalambana, Pumsavana, Simantanayana, Jatakarma, Namakarna, Chudakarna, Anaprasana, Chudakarma, Upanayana, Keshanta, Samavartana, and Antyeshti. That means they have marriage, they have the conception ceremony, praying for a male or female child, parting of the hair, birth ceremony, naming ceremony, cutting the first haircut, Anaprasana, offering solid food. Chudakarna means boring the ears or piercing the ears for earrings, right? Upanayana means Vedic Gayatri initiation. Keshanta is a type of haircut, another type of haircut. Samavartana means the graduation ceremony, and Antyeshti is the funeral. Then according to Bodhayana Griha Sutra, which is a Krishna Yajurveda Griha Sutra, this Paraskara was a Sukla Yajurveda Griha Sutra. Bodhayana is a Krishna Yajurveda Griha Sutra. What's the difference between Krishna Yajurveda and Sukla Yajurveda? Sukla Yajurveda is mostly in North India, and there are two flavors of Sukla Yajurveda. There's the Madhyandina and there's the Kanva. The Madhyane are called Vajrasaneya. They follow the Vajrasaneya Samhita of the Shukla Yajurveda. The Shukla Yajurveda is called the White Yajurveda. Shukla means white, and it means that the Brahmana, the explanation section, and the hymns, the Samhita are separate. There's another form of the Yajurveda where the Brahmana, the explanation of how to use the hymns, and the hymns are mixed together. Because it's mixed together, it's called the Black Yajurveda or the Krishna Yajurveda. That's the one which is used in South India. In the Krishna Yajurveda, in the North Indian one, there is this Paraskara Griha Sutra, and people follow that. In the South Indian one, although there are Shukla Yajurvedis in South India who follow Kanvashaka, but mostly there are Krishna Yajurvedis who follow either Bodhayana or Apastamba Griha Sutras. The Griha Sutra or the book, the manual for the Grihastas of Krishna Yajurveda, Taittiriya Krishna Yajurveda, is either Bodhayana or Apastamba usually. There's some other ones also. So, according to Bodhayana, they are Vivaha, Garbhalambana, Pungsavana, Simantanayana, Jatakarma, Namakarna, Upanishkramana, Anaprasana, Chudakarma, Karnabeda, Grihashesha, Upanayana, Samavartana, and Pitri Meda. Pitri Meda has to do with the Pitris, has to do with the forefathers. Right, all the rest are pretty much the same. Upanishkramana means Upanayana, it's the same thing. So, marriage, conception, praying for a male or female child, parting of the wife's hair and other prenatal samskara, the birth of the child, the naming of the child. Upanishkramana means taking the child out of the house for the first time, right? Anaprasana, feeding solid food or grains. Chudakarmana, first haircut. Karnabeda means piercing the ear. Griha Shesha, leaving the Griha, the Sutika Griha means the place where the mother and the infant child have been kept until they get over the birth, right? Upanayana, the Gayatri initiation, Samavartana, meaning the graduation ceremony, and Pitri Meda has to do with a ceremony for the forefathers. There's also a Vaikhanasa Griha Sutra for those persons who come in the line, in the Gotra or the family lineage of the sage Vaikhanas, right? Which I don't think anybody's going to run into. But anyway, they have 18 Ritu Sangamana, which has to do with the wife purifying herself after her menstrual period in preparation for the impregnation ceremony, right? Then Garbhadana, the impregnation. Simanta means also parting of the hair. Vishnu Bali is another type of ceremony where the fetus in the womb is given a type of spiritual initiation by making sweet rice or payasam infused with the Sudarshana Chakra and Panchajanya of Lord Narayana, and that is given to the mother to drink, and the fetus within in the womb is therefore initiated before birth. That is called Vishnu Bali. Jatakarma, the birth ceremony. Uttana means getting up from the bed, which means that when the mothers recover from the birth, right? Namakarna, which is the naming ceremony, giving solid food. Parvasa Gamana, I'm not sure what exactly that is, we have to look it up. Pindu Vardhana is a type of pinda, offering to the forefathers. Chaulaka is also first haircut. Upanayanam is again the Gayatri Mantra initiation. Parayana means learning the Vedas, right? Vrata Banda Visarga, which might mean the finish after learning the Vedas. It's like the Samavartana, leaving the graduation ceremony from the spiritual master's school. Upakarma, which means the recharging of spiritual Brahma Tejas, which happens once a year for Yajurvedis on Shravana Purnima, or the what you might know as Balaram's appearance day every year. The full moon in the month of Shravana is when people change the Brahman thread and reinvigorate the Vedas, which we'll be talking about in another lesson. Utsarjana, which may be also part of the Upakarma, or maybe something different, means giving up something. Samavartana, another type of graduation. Panigrahana means grasping the hand. We could call it when it's different from here, because they haven't mentioned vivaha. Panigrahana is a type of vivaha where we hold the wife's hand. It can probably be understood as being like a vagdanam or when somebody becomes your fiance, a party where you declare that you're going to marry somebody, or you make the arrangement for the marriage. Betrothal party, right? Okay. So then normally we have these types. Okay, so now there are actually in the Dharma Sutras, there are actually 40 samskaras, right? So I'm just going to describe the 40 samskaras quickly, right? Garbhadana is one, is impregnation or conceiving a child. Simontanayana is Pungsavana, praying for either a male or female child. Simontanayana is parting the wife's hair. It comes at a certain part of the pregnancy. Jatakarma is the birth ceremony. Namakarna is the naming ceremony. Anaprasana, taking the solid food. Chola is first haircut. 8 is Upanayana, the Gayatri initiation, right? Or bringing close to the Guru, right? Then you have, so that brings you up to 8. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So then 9, 10, 11, 12 are called Chaturvara Vedi Vratani. That means starting to learn the Rig Veda, starting to learn the Yajur Veda, starting to learn the Sama Veda, starting to learn the Atharva Veda. So you should learn all these Vedas. So therefore there are 4 samskaras, 1 for each, starting to learn those, right? Then Snana is like the Samavartana, the graduation. After graduation, the person is a student and they have to take a bath. And after they take the bath, then they're considered no longer to be a student. Doesn't mean they can stop learning. They can continue learning, but they don't have to. They can learn on their own without being in the school of a teacher. They graduate from the school of the teacher and they can learn on their own. Okay? Then you have Saha Dharma Charani Samyoga. This is a very fancy way of saying getting married. Saha Dharma Charani. Saha Dharma Charani means getting a wife, and the husband gets a wife who is going to help him in the religious duties of his life as a householder. So getting her, that means a marriage. Okay, so that's number 14. So then 15 to 19 are the Pancha Mahayagyas. Pancha Mahayagyas means every day we are born into this world with 5 debts. We have a debt to the forefathers. We have a debt to the demigods or the devatas. We have a debt to the rishis. We have a debt to other living entities, and we have so many debts. Okay, to our parents. So these debts that we have to fulfill every day. The householder is supposed to perform these 5 ceremonies very quickly. It doesn't take a long time, and they're called the Pancha Mahayagyas. So more on that. We'd have a whole class on that if people are interested in that. Then 20 to 26, right? 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. Okay, so the next 8, right? There are 8 Paka Yagyas, right? 7 Paka Yagyas. There are 7 Havir Yagyas, and there are 7 Soma Yagyas. So these are all Vedic Yagyas or ceremonies or fire ceremonies, and nobody hardly does them anymore. Very few people out of hundreds of thousands of Brahmins in India today, maybe 1 or 2 people will be doing these also, right? So there are 7 Paka Yagyas, 7 Havir Yagyas, and 7 Soma Yagyas. We will never be doing them. Nobody will be doing them. So you don't have to really worry about them. The soma yagya means we make soma juice, which is a sattvic intoxicant. Usually it's offered to Vishnu into the fire. At the end, the Brahmin can take one drop and he has to shave his head and take a bath with his clothes on as a prayaschitta or atonement for taking an intoxicant, because it's a sattvic intoxicant. It's allowed to be taken as prasadam of Vishnu. So this is soma. Soma, there's a soma plant and they ferment the juice of it. Okay? So there are 7 of those ceremonies. There are 7 Havir Yagyas and Paka Yagyas. These are different types of things. Some of them can be done daily. The Agnihotram is a Havir Yagya which is done daily, morning and evening fire ceremony. It's a Vedic one. You need to have eternal fires in your house for this to happen. You have to have 3 fires. You have to have Garapatya, Dakshinagni, and Ahavaniya, Dakshinagni, and Garapatya. You need to have these 3, at least these 3. You can have other Vedic Shrauta Agnis. There are different forms of fire. There are different types of fire. So there is the Shrauta Agni, which these 21 sacrifices are done in Shrauta Agni, right? The Vedic fire. There are other ceremonies are done using Smarta Agni, which is the usual domestic fire. And so there are these different types, Smarta and Shrauta Agni, like that. As well as this, there's a spiritual system. This is all from the material system of Varnashram. In the spiritual system, we have Pancharatric, Tantric, Agamic ceremonies, which may also use fire. That fire is Agamic fire, is a type of Vaishnava fire, like that. These are all Vedic fires, and Smarta and Shrauta and Smarta fires. Okay, so that's an overview of the 40 samskaras, like that. Today, more or less, people are doing the 16 samskaras, which are the first 16, we could say, in here, 15 or 16. And people mostly are performing, everybody's still performing the wedding ceremony. Most people are still performing the Upanayana ceremony, like that. Sometimes the people will wait until they're going to get the son married, and because the marriage is paid for by the father of the bride, right? They will also include the ceremony for the son to get Upanayanam in the wedding ceremony. But this is not correct, but this is what many people do today. Some people do it, some people don't. But correctly speaking, there are certain times when these ceremonies have to be done. The Brahmin, for instance, an intellectual, he should be taking Upanayam at the age of 7 and not after a certain age. So this is another whole discussion. This has all got to do with material Varnashram system. Doesn't have to do with the spiritual system. Okay, so those are the 16 samskaras. And as far as any other pujas and any either tantric, agamic, or pancharatric or vaikanasic ceremonies, what do I mean by that? Things which are not ceremonies coming from the Vedas themselves, which are coming from other books like the Puranas, the Pancharatras, which are Vaishnava scriptures, the Vaikanasa Samhitas, which are Vaishnava scriptures, or from some other sets of books like Tantras or Agamas for other deities. These are all outside of these. These are all separate from these, right? And the system is completely different. Okay, so does that answer your question? So, strictly speaking, how many of these are you going to perform? How many of these are going to perform out of the 6? Hello?
I'm trying to perform like my son. I did the Gabodana, all to Chatur Karana, shaving of the hair, remaining the Upanayanam, that is 7 years. So I'm trying to follow like that, step by step.
Good for you.
Yeah. And can you recommend this for some people?
For some people, like
Yes.
I said, for most people, there's no samskaras because there's. I'm sorry, excuse me. For most people, there's no varnashram samskaras because they don't belong to the varnashram system.
Okay.
So unless they belong to the varnashram system, the higher three class, unless they're taking Upanayanam. Let me just mute you for a second here. Okay. So if a person wants to perform this samskar, right, then he can do that. He can do that if he wants to do it. In the scriptures like Manu Samhita, he says that if people want to do these things, they can do these things. If a person is born in a family or comes in a particular lineage from a particular Veda, then he should do those things. Otherwise, he doesn't have to do them. If he wants to do them, he can do them. But more importantly are the spiritual samskaras rather than the material samskaras. So the more important thing he has to do is he has to approach a spiritual teacher and learn from that person and have some spiritual samskara like initiation. That's much more important to him than these other samskaras. There's no compulsion for people outside the varnashram system. There's no compulsion for them to do any of these samskaras in the scriptures. If they want to do, they can do them. Okay, so does anybody else have any other questions? If your spiritual guru is telling you to perform these samskaras, you can do them. For sure, you can do them like that. But otherwise, if he's not telling you to do them, you don't need to do them. Unless you come in a particular family that has a tradition to do that, then you have to do it. You're supposed to do it.
Like here in Nigeria, he gave like a instruction that most times when people give birth, they used to meet him for name, for him to give a name. So he gave an instruction that anybody that wants him to give name must follow the samskaras.
Okay. Okay. But if somebody comes to you and they want you to do a naming ceremony, then do it. Because who gives the name? Normally the father and the mother, they give the name. So what you're telling me is that your guru there in Nigeria, he's giving people names. Yeah, because the spiritual guru is also a father, a type of father. There are different types of fathers. You are a father, you have a son. But you also have a father who gave birth to you, who gave birth to this body. But you also have a spiritual father, and that is your spiritual guru. So your spiritual guru can give a name. Your material father can give a name. Both names are accepted. Both names are accepted. Just like I have a name from my father. It's on my passport, right? I also have another name given by my guru. Both names are accepted. So if you want to do a material naming ceremony, you can do it. If you want to do a spiritual naming ceremony, you can also do that. A spiritual name is usually given in the Vaisnava or Vaisnava samskara called Vaisnava Diksha. Tapa Pundra Tato Nama Mantra Yagasya Panchamaha. There's a samskara called Pancha Samskara. Pancha means 5. Just like Panchatattva, Panchapurusha, Pancha means 5 in Sanskrit. Okay, so what are the 5 things? Why is there a thing called Pancha Samskara? It's a samskara of 5 things. The 5 things are tapa, pundra, tato, nama, mantro, yagasya, panchamaha, right? So they are purifying the body, right, in different ways. Purifying the body, wearing of Vaishnava marks, right? This is a Vaishnava Samskara. It's a Vaishnava Samskara. It's Vaishnava Diksha. Wearing of the tilaka marks on the body. So tapa, pundra, tato, nama, getting a name, being given a name by the guru, which means that you're a servant of God. Tapa, pundra, tato, nama. Mantra, getting a spiritual mantra, a mantra or a prayer in Sanskrit, which will help you to purify yourself spiritually. Tapa, pundra, tato, nama. Mantra, yagasya. Yagasya means surrendering. The guru is helping you to surrender to God and to perfect your life. And he's teaching you how to worship and how to surrender to God. So these 5 things are the Pancha Samskara. This is the principles. These are the principles, the philosophy behind Vaishnava Diksha. Of course, there's a method of doing Vaishnava Diksha according to different traditions, different sampradayas, and they have their own knife. But the basic thing that's followed by all the sampradayas is these 5 things. So giving of a spiritual name, the guru can certainly give a spiritual name. The guru can also give a material name. Why not? You know, I was in Australia many years ago. I had a friend, and he was married. At that time, I was not married, but I had a friend who was married, and he had a daughter, and Srila Prabhupada came there, and my friend wanted Prabhupada to give a name to the daughter, right? So Prabhupada, he kept pestering Prabhupada. He kept bugging Prabhupada. Prabhupada, I had a daughter. Can you name my daughter? Give me a name for my daughter. Please, Prabhupada, can you name my daughter? And he kept asking again and again and again. And the guy was bothering Prabhupada. And so Prabhupada said, okay, I'll give a name. Rose. And the guy said, Rose. And Prabhupada said, yeah, Rose. And the guy said, oh, Prabhupada, you mean Gulab. Her name is Gulab, because in Sanskrit, in Hindi, in India, the word rose is a flower. Rose is a red flower, right? Or sometimes it can be other colors, but it's a flower, right? So in Hindi or in Sanskrit, in Hindi, for instance, it's called Gulab. So this guy said to Prabhupada, oh, you mean she should be called Gulab? Prabhupada said, no, Rose. Call her Rose. And the guy goes, he thought Prabhupada is going to give her some spiritual name. But he didn't ask Prabhupada for a spiritual name. He said, please name my daughter. So Prabhupada said, call her Rose. Rose is a nice name. She can be Rose. So here's an example where Prabhupada gave a material name to somebody. Rose is not a spiritual name. Prabhupada was giving other people Krishna Das, Shamasundar Das, Govinda Das, right? Chaitanya Das. He was giving, Lakshmi Devi. He was giving spiritual names to his disciples in a spiritual ceremony. But this fellow was just asking, please give me, I had a daughter, please give her a name. Okay, Prabhupada said, Rose. So you can give them, in India, sometimes the babies, they get more than one name. They have a secret name. They have a ceremonial name. They have an official name. They have a name which, according to the time when they were born, there's all sorts of names. Sometimes they'll have up to 7 different names for different purposes, each child, So like you might meet somebody in India and he'll say, oh, what's your name? And he'll say, Balu, my name is Balu. Balu. Okay, your name is Balu. And then you find out, if you see his passport, it says Srinivasa Raghavanacharya. Yeah, but in the house, people call me Balu. They give me this nickname, right? Right? Just like me, when I live in India in a big holy town, which is flat. So I bicycle around on my bicycle. So people see me all the time. They don't know my name exactly. They don't know my passport name. They don't know even my spiritual name. All they know is that there's that guy on the cycle, on the bicycle. So people call me Cycle Swami. Cycle Swami, or they say Cycle Mama. In Tamil, the word Mama means uncle. So that uncle who's on the bicycle, that's that guy. Or that Swami on the bicycle. Swami just means a person, right? It means a man. You know, in Tamil usually, Swami just means a person, a male. You know. So so they have Swami. You know, cycle Mama, Cycle Swami. You know, Cycle Swami, come here. If they don't know my name, they'll just call me Cycle. Come here, Mr. Bicycle. Come here. So that's the thing, you know. People get these names. People get these names. They get nicknames. We have nicknames in our societies. So similarly, what is the name supposed to do? It means something about the person, right? So when we give a spiritual name, we add das or dasi. We add servant, or we add this word servant to the end. You're a servant of God, like that. When we give a material name, we don't have to add servant. Right? Even the Christianity, they give Christian names. You know, Peter, Paul. They'll give the names of some saint. You know, right? So also in Vaishnavism, in Hinduism, they give some names like that. They might give some name of some form of God, or you know, like that. So that's all about naming. That's only one samskara, is naming. So one of the social samskaras is giving a material name or giving a name. And then the spiritual samskara of initiation, that also includes giving a name. So you can have two names. You can have one name given by your father, one name given by your guru, or the guru can also give a material name too. Or I can give you a name. Somebody can give you a name, right? These people have given me a name because I'm riding a bicycle. Sometimes you get a name because you do something and people don't know your full name, or they want to refer to you by some name because you did something, or because they see you. White man, there's the white man. There's the, you know, there's the Australian guy. There's the American. Foreigners, there's the foreigner. Right? If I'm in Australia, people are not going to call me a foreigner. If I'm in America or Australia, they're not going to call me a foreigner. But if I go to India, there's a foreigner. Foreign Swami. When I first went to South India, I went to Tirupati, and I went in the Tirupati temple, and they want to give me prasadam. So, Foreign Swami, come here, Foreign Swami. That's me. I'm Foreign Swami. I know I'm Foreign Swami. Swami, when I'm in India, I'm Foreign Swami. Or I'm Bicycle Swami when I'm in Sri Lanka. So like that. No problem. Okay, so do we have any other questions about other samskaras or other ceremonies? We can have other classes where we go into detail in particular ceremonies and particular samskaras or particular pujas. But all these rituals are meant for purification. So any puja, any spiritual initiation or samskara, right? Any material or social samskara, these are all samskaras. Everything's a samskara. Because what is the basic meaning of samskara? To bring us right back to the beginning of the class, it means anything that we do for purification. Taking a bath, that's a samskara. Right? We get up every day, we take a bath. That's purification. So similarly, we chant mantras, chant Hare Krishna, chant some Ramanama, you know? That's samskara. It's purifying. So whatever we do throughout our life, it should be purifying. And if it's a bad samskara, maybe it's a bad samskara. In material life, there are people who they do bad samskaras. Right? Like they take alcohol, they take drugs or something like that, and they get addicted, and that becomes a samskara. They do it again and again and again because they've planted that seed of sin, because they've done that, and they become addicted, and it ruins their life. So similarly, because we get up every day and we take a bath or we chant good mantras or whatever it is, prayers and things like that, if we do that again and again, we become more and more purified throughout our life. And if we do the opposite, we can become more and more degraded. So samskaras can be nitya, naimittika, or kamya. They can be every day, nitya. In Sanskrit, we say nitya means eternal. It also means daily. So a daily thing that we do for purification is a nitya samskara. A thing we do occasionally for purification, like Ekadasi fasting, observing the Lord's appearance days in some way, doing some occasional puja that comes up every year, Damodar Vrata, Kartika Vrata, whatever it is. This is called Naimittika Kamya, Naimittika Samskara. And then Kamya, if we have a specific desire, we do some ceremony for a specific desire, like I want to get my daughter married, I want to get my son married, or I want to pray for their getting a good degree, getting a good pass mark in the exam, whatever it is. I want my business to go well. This is called Kamya, with a desire. So these three types of ceremonies, Nitya, Naimittika, and Kamya, are there. Mostly for Vaishnavas, we're not so much interested in the Kamya, in the desire, because our only desire is really to serve the Supreme Lord. So we can also pray for that. We can pray for more service to the Supreme Lord. But the other ones we have to perform. We have to perform the daily rituals. We have to perform the occasional rituals and rites like that. And we should know what they mean. And we should perform them according to the Shastras. And for others, we can explain to them, and we can show the other people the example of doing those things, how to live a spiritual life. So, once again, samskara means how to purify your life. There's many different ways to purify your life. You can purify it with social ceremonies. You can purify it with purely spiritual ceremonies. You can do the things that you have to do every day, things that you do occasionally, things that you do for a specific purpose or a specific desire. These are all samskaras. Okay, so that's a general overview of what samskaras are. If anybody has a specific samskara, we can talk about it in another class, but I think right now we covered the basics of what the different samskaras are, and we even got into a little bit of detail about the names of the 40 samskaras, 16 samskaras, or the one or two really main samskaras like birth, death, funeral, marriage. These are main samskaras. So I think that's good. Unless there's any other questions or comments, I think we can leave it here for today, and we can pick up where we left off. I'm going to post this on YouTube later on, and you can go over it. If I went through something too quickly or didn't give enough information on it, then you just ask, and we'll go into more detail on these things. But today I wanted to have a broad overview of what the word samskara means. It have so many meanings. But basically it means some way of purifying our lives. Okay. So I think we'll end it here.